Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. As per what we'd said, we'll go live on Mondays, talk markets. Normally we do it earlier in the morning, but a little bit of a mid-morning thing here. It's been kind of a boring day for price, so we are going to talk about it a little bit and see what we've got going on in the charts. So, Max, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, my man. Very well. Has been a bit of a boring day.
Yeah, no, he was so bored, guys. He was like, "Do we have to have the cameras on? I don't want to put any clothes on. It's hot as fuck here in Dubai." So, yeah. But hopefully you guys are well. I appreciate you guys being here. As always, you guys know the spiel. Hit the like button if you have not already. I show there's only 3 of us in here, so we'll see if that grows over time. Usually does swell up a little bit as we get going. But we are going to talk Bitcoin, Matic, ADA. I know Max trades some of these speculative, altruistic projects as well through his open interest strategies. So we'll see what he's up to there, and then we'll talk SPX and DXY a little bit before we go. Yeah, let's just jump right into the charts and go from there. Hopefully you guys like the thumbnail. I do put a little bit of effort into those to make them somewhat comical for you. That's the goal, is to get a laugh. So, don't ever take them and, think that I'm being super serious, but, sometimes humor is needed, especially in this market. So Bitcoin, on the daily, you can see where we're at here, right above the blue box that I've been begging for quite some time. One thing to note as well is this was a very simple play. We've talked about it several times in the group, right? You had your quarterly VWAP touch right here at the quarter 2 open. Also, for those that are in the group and know how we do things in terms of regressions, that will also get you the quarterly regression high right there. It was very, very nice. So we'll turn that on for just a second. There you go. So right at the top of your regression, letting you know that this was also the 0.5 fib. It was just a good place to be looking for potential reversals. That was the words given, that this would be the region. We're going to play the fibs, the 0.5 and 618 potentially, which is all the way up here. And obviously this was a good short for anyone that took it. And you've seen no sign of strength since. We talked about this last week in the group. We've talked about it again this week. No signs of strength, no higher highs, right? However, what can you do with information like that other than just say, okay, well, then the trend is down? Well, you can start moving your invalidations up, and you can say, well, a sign of strength would realistically start moving down more. So before we were looking for, I believe it was 27,600 and some change, because that was a key weekly low coming in here. But also it was your monthly pivot, if I recall, right? So you can see how these line up really, really nicely. And we'll just move this over. This is an old weekly low. So you can see how they line up nicely right around that 27,659 level. So that catches everyone up. No sign of strength there. However, we can really start saying that if we recovered the yearly pivot here at 26,724.50, we might, have some things to talk about. That would be a little bit of a change of behavior and potential for strength to try to make a new high here, or at least run it back up above these local highs into that pivot and hit that statistical target, maybe even continuation after that. A really important level for me is going to be, get rid of these real quick, is going to be the April low. It's something that we've had on our chart previously, but if we wanted to say, okay, where could I really start to be bullish again? And it looks very far away where we are. People will say, well, this is an SFP and it failed, and now we're SFPing this low, so bears are getting weaker. That is actually not something I would be trading off of, where you're just continuously taking out lows from the prior months and then making new lows. That's not a sign of strength by any means. So you're front running the sign of strength in that case, which pays off occasionally, but not that often. What you want to do, in my opinion, only my opinion, is we had a little blue box here for a reason. I would wait. And if I was really, really up in the air and I didn't know what to do, but I want to take a long, and you're not sure if you can just stomach the risk because you are coming into support, right? So that is, traditionally what you want to look for are reasons to, is there a reason for me to get long here? If not, you don't trade it, right? You just let it keep going until you find a reason to expose yourself to that risk. You should just be waiting for this to reclaim the April low. And the reason that's so important is we've got 18 days in June left. So, price is at 25,876, and this is 26,925. So $1,000 away. If price fails to break below this box between now and the end of June, and it does end up recovering this level by the end of June, man, this mouse is not doing me any favors. That to me would look good for a long, and I would be targeting all the way back up here into this, previous month open, actually, giving us a nice horizontal monthly level there, actually, with the daily, and I think there's even a weekly up here. So the quarter one high, essentially. And if you were to zoom back in, that becomes, your range high. So that would be the plan if I was, being ultra conservative. That's how I would trade for upside, right? And you can see that also puts you back inside the range above the April low and the yearly pivot here. The blue box of death and despair as of right now is because we're below it. But even if you wanted to do something that's less subjective, where we say this is the current range, we could, because you can pull these ranges however you want. It's the beauty of that tool. That's why some people's analysis does vary at times. You could always just take that part out and again have a constant, and we could just say, okay, well, the quarterly range also supports this data, and so does the quarterly value area high. That if that April low is recovered, we could probably say that might be the sign of strength we're looking for. We're no longer looking for that 27.6 recovery, and that we could theoretically, as long as we're holding that blue box and living above it, that's what I mean is you got to be above this area of the chart. I would be targeting the quarter one high, right? But for me, I am still looking for, the fabled 24/7 level that we've been talking about for 6 weeks. You can also see that the quarterly VWAP was tapped here. I'll get rid of this quarterly range real quick. Quarterly VWAP was tapped here. Now we're looking down to the yearly VWAP, which we front run a little bit. I mean, it depends on how, you want to classify a front run. Excuse me. The low here was 25 through 2150, and that puts the yearly VWAP at 25,278. So you can see that that is roughly $43. So that's really not a very big front run. So still very, very valid that this could be a tap, and that you could look at this as the low is being swept. The question is, what are we getting from here? If I was looking for a head short, where would I be looking for? I do think that, well, you've got to be looking into this region, right? Maybe even just above it right here at these local highs for the potential for a short. Because if you were to come above this level like so, and then back below it, confirm it as resistance, that could be your sign to get short. And then you'd actually have a really good risk management spot to like take that trade, right? Otherwise, this isn't to me a good place to look for any kind of a short outside of maybe if there's a day trade setup available. And then you could potentially move your stop to like break even or something, or just leave it where it originally was, take profit early, and then see if that remaining position turns into a swing trade. But traditionally, these aren't the places to be looking for shorts. The better shorts are had after the pumps, right? You want to find the best in validation, which was quarter two open. Now it's moving down. It actually front ran our monthly point or monthly pivot, and front ran my take profit by like $8. I don't know if you guys remember that or not from last week, but is what it is there. So let's talk doomsday, and we're actually going to look at the CME real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to Max, and we will talk a little bit about alts. We are just kind of holding on to 25.7. First of all, this is an old naked pivot that we've kind of been watching. Also, it was a really nice one-to-one. So for those of you that aren't aware, this was something that was pointed out. A really nice one-to-one, 25.8, 96.50. That's where this box is getting its top side. And you can see that was really nice support and has been. So if you're looking for, well, when will we really know this move is getting underway? 25.7. You start closing below this little zone here between 25.7 and 25.896, then yeah, you're probably going to see 24.7, in my opinion, that quarterly pivot, and potentially lower into this NPOC zone here between 22.951 and 22.377. However, I don't believe it stops there. I believe we go lower than that at that time. And the reason I do is, well, several things. One, the overall range point of control when you merge all the data shows about $20,000. But also, if you look at the CME, that's when things start to really look like we could be coming into a gap fill. Okay, so you can see I have an alert here. I'll go ahead and delete it for just now. For right now, maybe I will. There we go. We'll remove it. Okay, so we'll remove the alert for now. But you can see this is our trajectory for 6 months here. This has been the CME futures regression. It's been very, very well. You can see we are falling out of it. And then you have your quarterly regression right here. So you have two timelines that are intersecting because this is obviously made up of 2 quarters of price. This is 1 quarter of price. Both of them will be finishing on June 30th. And yeah, if you start falling out of this and losing this low, that zone that we just talked about, the gap is down here at 21,110 and 20,330. That actually gives us, cause to say, where might we be looking towards? And I would say if we put that gap on our chart and we just draw a very simple Fibonacci level, we already know that the volume levels are there. Hard not to look at that gold pocket, and these local lows right here. And if you guys recall, what was the big level when we came down here last year in the fall? And in the, I guess it was technically summer and fall, we came down into this region of the chart. And I had a big hard on for 20,688.50, if you guys recall. And you can see that it was just such a well-respected level. It was really a key area. And so, yeah, if we start living below 24/7, right? That's the key. Living below 24/7, just like on CME's chart here, living below these lows, I start looking for this gap fill, right? So am I bypassing this entire region right here where we've got some key levels? We've got a nice September high that was absolutely clutch for us back in this region of the chart. You've got some NPOCs. I'm not overlooking it by any means. You've got the 0.5 fib there as well. But I do kind of start to shift and say, okay, my bias would really be that we maybe come down a little bit lower still. We'll gauge the reaction. And if you lose 20,688.50, there's really nothing beneath you here. I would just anticipate coming all the way back down to like 18, maybe even back to the yearly open and filling 1, the NPOC, and 2, this yearly open is untapped since opening. So, it is what it is. Timeline wise for this, we've talked about it. I'm looking for probably the end of June to mid July, I would say. I think if we're going off time. So we'll see how that pans out. But that's really Bitcoin in a nutshell, guys. That's 12 minutes of me just rambling about it. So hopefully you guys found that useful. I know we only do these once or twice a week. We'll try to be a little more active for you guys while things are kicking off finally here. But Max, anything to add? You want to jump into the order flow here locally? He's muted.
Very good. Okay. Delete that shit. Yeah, so I'll be honest with you guys. I've really not got any edge. I can't really see which direction this is going overall to lead into Magic's higher time frame. I think we're just really range bound on a really local time frame. And what I mean by that is that let me go to the 5-min, bit high time frame. We're just literally bouncing between. So we had here, okay, let me go over it all. I'm going to draw boxes as well. So this is like the range, effectively. Sorry, I need to cough. This is like the range, effectively. And the reason for that is you had a huge open interest increase as you came into this and built this range out. Now, I'm not saying trade it like a range, you can, of course. But whenever you get above it, it's the time to be looking for shorts. Whenever you get below it, it's time to be looking for longs. With this huge open interest increase, it just means there's a lot of traders that have come into the market and that are in positions already. Now, case can certainly be made that we've taken a lot of them out. The longs here, the shorts here, and the shorts here last night. And we did SFP that level yesterday. And as you made your way back into the range, I said, I was favoring higher prices when we were here on our stream last night, on our members stream. But I said the one level, I was really wanted it to go up to the yearly pivot. But the one level that I was cautious of was an SFP of this region here. It's the only level that really, for me, could have turned your price around. You didn't really get, I wasn't trading this. I don't like to trade at the weekends. And after the stream, I was just knackered, so I went to bed. So I didn't take this SFP trade. But you can kind of see that, you're getting multiple attempts up in the open interest. And then, it did drop as you were coming towards the highs with a bigger drop at the top. So that kind of was your signal to get back in. And then as you came down more, it was decreasing open interest with a big open interest drop towards the lows. As you took out these traders here, took out these lows, got that nice. SFP action on the go. That would have been a really good trade to take. And if you weren't there initially, you could have taken it as you start to increase with open interest as you start to rise a little bit. Would have been cautious because you were lingering here, but you're holding some areas of what were once support and resistance back here. So potentially this could have been your area to get into a long today. But for me, there has really been no trades. Even though we came up here, had a spike in the open interest and quickly returned to where it is, the fact the open interest is just climbing again, and it pretty much regained all the positions that had left on the miniature downtrend. For me, it kind of just it's the same analysis that I gave yesterday. If you get above here and live above here, you're going to be targeting the yearly pivot. If you start to drop below here, I really don't see much stopping us outside of an SFP again. But I would expect an SFP, if we're going to get it, to come much more into the 25-200 region, because this low was, I think, the previous week or maybe the previous from back here. We didn't really collect the liquidity there. So with us not collecting the liquidity there and having the open interest climbing in the way that it has in this, over the last few days, if we are going to come down there is going to be a lot of long stop losses here, which could potentially be SFP'd. But that would be the only long trade that I really want to take from down here, because if you then come back up and you're bouncing your head along the bottom of this box effectively, and you fail to really regain any ground, you're going to be looking to go to that 24,700 region, which Magic mentioned. But yeah, locally, I've really not got any edge, so I can't really talk about where I think price is going to go locally. Well, I guess I can. We've just SFP'd these levels here, and if I go over to XM and zoom in, something interesting was happening as you kept coming down and SFPing these lows. You'll notice that the majority of them are, this one here, as we made the initial first low, it's not exactly on it, but you can see almost flat open interest. The next one here, almost flat open interest. And you definitely had some buyers come back in this one. And then this one here, again, almost flat open interest on negative delta. Now, I really am trying to steer away from saying positions changing hands. But this open interest is flat in areas where longs are going to be getting taken out of their positions as you take lows, as you get longer liquidations. To have flat open interest when you get in these types of things, it does signal that maybe some positions are changing hands, but I just don't really favor wanting to shout for higher prices from where we are, because in this miniature, little downtrend, we call it falling triangle, whatever, where you're making lower highs and ultimately bouncing on the same level, open interest was still increasing in this region, and it was resistance here. We've not really shaken out that resistance yet. So this is why I'm struggling to build a bias one way or the other, because we've not really shaken out the longs that were entering in this position up here, and we're below it. So while we're below it, I would expect you to come and take it down more. But you've already SFP'd the lows that I'd be looking to have SF swing failure patterns from. So the longs, I would have to say, you're having to wait for either to come and SFP these lows again and maybe collect more of the liquidity, or ultimately, the one that was made early in the morning. Shorts, I think you'd have to wait till you get above 26,000, and potentially you'd want to see it get lost again. But yeah, you'd want to see it come up here and you get back above the box and then fail to initiate that push higher. Because whichever way you go in this box now, like we had on, where was the really good example? I can't remember where it was. I went over it yesterday. I deleted all my boxes that I had. But whichever way we go now and, really move on, while we've had this, it has been a rather bigger increase in open interest overall in this range. Whichever way you go, there's a lot of traders locked in positions. And whichever way we really push, it's going to trigger that cascading effect to where a lot of people are forced out of those positions, and ultimately, price is driven in that direction. So it's why I'm kind of cautious in this miniature range, taking positions on either side. So yeah, not really got too much edge right now. So apologies, pretty wank analysis, but it kind of trying to push you more towards Magics than trading this locally, because it's rather difficult to pick a side right now on a small time frame. One that I called out yesterday on the stream didn't give me my buy box, which is very frustrating. But Lena. So the way that I'm currently trading altcoins is I'm going on Bybit, finding the top movers for the day, and then looking at the open interest with the trend and seeing if it's a trend that I want to get involved with. So Lena yesterday had like a 20% rise in price. I traded Lena like 2-3 weeks ago, and it was just so easy to trade. And what you're effectively doing is looking at the open interest, seeing if it's going up with the trend, and if it is, it's a trend that you want to get involved with. So yeah, we streamed about here, and I would wanted it to come down a little bit further. But this coin, it's not really trading very synchronized to Bitcoin at all. But when you come down and when you know that the overall trend is up, the strength of the trend, thanks to open interest, is strong. You want to try and take SFPs when it's coming below the lows to then long and make the most of the move to the upside. So though it didn't come down to the liquidity box I had wanted down here, because you can see there's a lot of liquidity here thanks to the open interest swing points and liquidity thing, it came down and actually SFP'd this one before initiating the move up. So this coin is honestly an absolute it's just so good for trading SFPs with, and it's really got a percentage wise, it's really moving fast. So it's a really good coin that I'm enjoying trading. And I think from looking at it, on a higher term time frame, it's really got a lot of room that it can move. And look at what occurred before on towards the end of May. Large increase in open interest, price rising. What are we getting now? A large increase in open interest and price rising. I'm not saying it's going to come all the way up here. I'm definitely not saying that. The way that I trade this is first TP is 5%, which is insane anyway, which is absolutely insane. And then leave a bit to ride to see how much you can squeeze out. But effectively, what you're waiting for is this open interest to either start increasing with the downtrend or to start decreasing with the uptrend, and ideally a volume spike in the mix somewhere to be like your cursor for a shift in direction. Because open interest is a sum of all the orders, long and short. It's 1-to-1. So when you've got increasing open interest with an uptrend, it means that there's a lot of shorts that have taken positions on the opposite side of the longs, and they're trapped in their trades. So until they start to get forced out of those positions, we can expect price to continue to rise. And yeah, this coin's really got a lot of room to run. So this week, this is where my eyes are certainly on. You can see I've already got alerts set for some low time frame SFPs. Honestly, just a really good coin that I'm enjoying. Looking for entries on it, and because the percentage moves are so good. I know I didn't take this. It didn't come to my box, but the targets that we mentioned yesterday, if you'd have gotten in at the SFP, so I'm talking about this wick down here. If you'd have gotten into there and gone to the targets that we gave, that was 13%. 13% in, God, how long was that? Eight hours. Insane. It really is crazy. And if you'd held it even longer, you'd have been up way more. So coins like this, when they're moving really fast with the trend, it's really good to look to open interest in order to see the strength of it and see if it's a coin that you want to get involved with. I don't know this coin. I don't know the whatever it is. I don't know, but the trend is very strong, and it's a trend that you want to really get involved with. I'm not saying buy at the top, definitely not. What you were doing is you're being patient and allowing the price to drop down a little bit to come to you in order to then get a setup, whichever your setup may be. My preferred setup is SFPs because it shakes out the weaker hands. And then you get involved and you ride the trend as it continues. You always have to know where you're wrong, though. With SFPs, it just makes it so simple. But yeah, this is the only one I really want to shout out. This is the only one I'm really looking at. Pepe kind of did some Pepe stuff. It was here yesterday when we were talking about it. And I said, it's not as bullish as Bitcoin because Bitcoin was above its range and it kind of just fell back into the mixer. Ultimately came down, didn't really give you any really nice SFPs, because it just kind of came down to the middle. But this is such a shit coin that it's to be expected. But early today, it did give you a nice SFP of this high back here. So the trades are there to be had, and you can see when you got there, initially you had nice increasing open interest, but as you got towards the top, what happened then? It started to fade off. It can kind of give you a signal that the uptrend's kind of coming to an end. But right now on Pepe, really no bias. It's the same thing on Bitcoin. I've got really no bias because open interest is just dormant, and there's really no reason for me to make lies up about which way I think it's going to go. Like, I actually really don't know. But the only one I'm really confident is with Lena, that it's a pretty nice trend right now. But Bitcoin range bound, Lena uptrending, Pepe, and I don't have any other shitcoins, Magic. So if you want to crack on with some, by all means, turn yourself on, lad.
I know. I was just getting ready to update the time. So we'll look at Matic here. That's one that I've been actively trading and doing analysis on passively for you guys because Matic is more of a high time frame play for me. Let me get my chart up and we'll take a peek at that beauty. Matic, for everyone that remembers, back in the day here, we were looking for initially $1.30, $1.33, I think is the target. And then we were looking for potentially 155 to 158, which we got. So if you guys recall, we had the fund folder and we had a nice bat that we were looking for. We actually talked about this possibility back in like September, October in the group. We did a lot of high time frame analysis about how this could be a lower high and that Matic actually might still make a lower low off of this pivot here. So this was a major take profit for me, though. If you follow me on Twitter or you're in the group, you've seen it in the money shots or you've seen it on Twitter, because you should know when I'm locking in profits. I locked it in just above 52 cents. So that was a really nice area. It's the July NPOC, and it does live below. This is the C leg that I've marked here at 69.01 cents for this coin. So where do we go from here? I've obviously got boxes all over this chart, but let me talk to you guys a little bit about harmonics. We did have two targets on this. One was the B leg. So if I was to take this and now put it over here, this is your B leg. We're targeting that because this is where the range high was set in before you had your 50% move down and your move up. So this is a 50% retracement into a 50% retracement, signifying that this is probably going to be your range. You based off that range and you expanded to common targets according to Scott Carney, which in this case was going to be the 886 with at least a 1618 confluence, which in this case you actually went up to the top side of that range closer to a 2618, making it a valid bat in harmonic. And from there, you're targeting $1.05 as pretty much your first take profit. I think I did take profits at 122 initially, and then $1.05. And then I said I wouldn't take any more profits until 52 cents on that short. So that is where the last take profit was. And the next one, I'll let you know where that's going to be here in the future and what would invalidate my trade and make me close it potentially. Or, I probably wouldn't let it run all the way back up to my entry above $1.50 and stop me out. I probably won't do that. So we'll talk shop on that a little bit. But Matic came down to the B leg. And then after that, you are targeting this C leg, right? So there's two ways to trade this. You're looking for the C leg here at 69 cents, or you could always target the 886, which to me is a very common target for this one. After the B leg is reached, you will retrace to the 886 of it. Now, because of what this structure is, if you go to harmonictrader.com, there's diagrams and videos. You'll notice that after the B leg is hit here, you can actually have a C leg that's anywhere from a 382 retracement to an 886, meaning it could come all the way back down to here before making this move. In this case, we did not get that. I actually prefer the 50% to 50% ratio for this, but that's just my preference. So in that instance, we target the C leg. We're expecting this to be taken, and we're expecting to see the 886 basically. And we had that July NPOC. So we were looking for right here for that reason, or at least I was. And everyone in the group knows that's the target that I had in mind was this NPOC, right? So we've bounced. We've got like a 30% bounce off of this level. So where do we go from here? Well, the 69 cent region is a very important zone, obviously. From there, you could easily box this off and just basically go from the here to here and say that I need to recover these levels. And if I recover this box, I would probably be looking to run the range again, right? And by the range, I mean this blue box up here. However, what I would do if I was a trader is I would just mark off key levels like so. And I would just say, if we're living above 69 cents, I'm looking to take out this local high right here. That's really it. I'm not looking to do anything fancy or special. I'm looking to run this back to the range high, and that is still a lower high in the general scheme of things. If we were to recover this local high around 97 cents, I'd probably move that up a little bit to more like $1.05, where our B leg was at, if you guys recall. So the B leg right here, $1.05, top of our blue box. If that got recovered, I would probably close that short trade from up here, right? What's left of it, it's not a huge position size anymore because I've TP'd it 3 times now. So what's left in there is just going to be left to run indefinitely, basically looking for 22 cents next, which would be below the starting point of that entire trade setup, right? So a couple things, if you're in the group, you know how we trade it, right? We've got our regression. If we trade just the regression off of our pattern, look how nice this is. This has been set up since here. We've got your EQ, rejection. We have now tapped the bottom side of our regression. So for me, this is how I've deemed our regression. It's got our standard deviations in there, and it works really well. And this is why we pull it to here, is because that is the pattern, right? So that's why we're stopping there. We're not including this data. It's not necessary. We can do that with time basis if we want to, based on an annual range, things like that. You could very easily pull up a regression and do something like this off of the annual and include more of that data if you wanted to, right? You could get that, and you could see you're living below it. So if you recover this level, what are we looking to do? Try to run it back to the range high, which would be somewhere around this like 97 cent range. But you've got to get back in that yearly range, and then you can start targeting these regions on the chart, right? So Matic, if we zoom out, and nobody's going to want to hear this. I know you guys aren't going to want to hear this, but it's fine. It's a really good chart. It's also a really bad chart. We'll go to log because it's easier to see. You can see why it's such a good chart, right? Huge move up. However, you've done something here where you've gone in from, and this is what we were talking about back in September. You've got your high, you've got a higher low still because your other low's right here. You've now made a higher high. You've now made a lower low. This right here is not a high, because we never confirmed the high. And what I mean by that is this blue box, which is where we had mapped off anyway, because I believe there is some swing fails there on like the higher time frames, monthlies, quarterlies, things like that, was never confirmed because we never lost structure. Had you broken below this local low right here, you would have confirmed this as a high, and then I would have expected to not only see 52 cents, but probably re-challenge of this low immediately. But instead, you made a new high. You've now confirmed said high, right? So now we have a confirmed high. And this isn't a confirmed low yet. What would confirm this as a low is if price did something like this, right? And then we could play the game of, is this going to make higher highs? However, I'm not necessarily in that camp. Just going back to it, we'll start at the high this time. You've got the high, you've got a lower high, and now you are looking at this as, will this make a new lower low, or will this put in the proverbial higher low, or the failure to make a new low? So it would be basically a bullish sign in that case. But if it makes a lower low and stays with the trend here, the new trend that's being established, one would expect to see these lows probably taken at some point. So you could just map off these lows at 31.6 and map off the low right here around 26.6 and know that you got an NPOC for March at 22. So realistically, you would be saying, if I was looking for fresh entries and I didn't just time this bottom, I'd either be waiting for a sign of strength, which could be a move back above this blue box we just talked about earlier, or I would just be saying that I'm looking for this zone to provide me some kind of an edge potentially to look for an entry. However, if lost, well, I mean, doomsday is upon us and you're looking for 3 cents. And I just think that's getting too far ahead of ourselves. So for me, if I was looking for a fresh entry on Matic, and I wasn't looking to just intraday trade it or swing trade it on the low time frames, I guess, like intraday, like you're going to hold that trade for maybe a week. And I was looking for the long-term play, I'd still be looking for this box until price gives me that sign of strength. that this trend is not going to continue into a new one, starting that, lower low trend, because again, you've gone from making higher lows and higher highs to a lower low, now a lower high, and you're looking for a lower low potentially right here. And anyone that's in the group can probably tell you what this looks like. Starts to begin to look like a really nice ABCD, right? And these are very common tops and bottoms, although I don't know that I like this one as much. But you'd be looking at something like this, and it gives you a nice channel as well. However you really want to trade it, you could look at it like so, right? You could say this is my look, right? And you could say realistically it could be anywhere here. So you could be looking at something like this, and you have a nice channel there. And let's see what the respect of the channel looks like. It's pretty good. Look at our EQ. There's our EQ there. We'd be looking for something like so, right? So simple on Polygon. I'm not really into altcoins too much. As you guys know, I do trade them. I do often take profits though and roll them into Bitcoin or Ethereum a lot of times. So just some nuggets there for some high time frame trade I've been looking at. And the other one I've been watching is Cardano. I've got two charts on Cardano. I've got a USDT pairing and a USD pairing. This is my old school. This is my old chart for Cardano. I actually have not really touched this one like almost at all in months. No updated levels outside of the new 2023 open. So this is a chart from last year. This was the zone I've been waiting on. I've mentioned it several times on other shows that I did not get an entry on Cardano because it didn't hit my box, and I was happy to sit it out because there's been no sign of strength. And that really does continue as of right now. So the sign of strength for Cardano locally is realistically going to be about 35 cents. If we're going to get back above that, maybe we can start looking up towards taking these highs right here into 72 cents, right? Which was another big area for us coming out. This was a yearly area on the chart that once lost, that's where this box became reality, and nothing has invalidated my target yet. So again, this is another thing where people say, well, you missed out on this move, and I did. And that's okay. I got entries on other tokens that I was able to trade how I wanted to. But the reason why this box still stands is because I've got no reason to say that it won't be hit, because there's been no strength in the price action. The chart has not revealed anything to make me change my bias or my plan. So I am still looking for, 18.2 cents down to 8.2 cents, according to the USD pairing on Cardano on Binance. Now, a little different story on the USDT chart. It did give for a nice intra-week trade just the other day. And we got into Cardano at like, what, 36.50, I think. We've got an area on the chart here between the 2021 low and the 2020 high here. And it's probably a pain in the ass for you guys to read because I've got this writing here, but it's just a zone to be aware of. And then you've got your 2019 high down here around 10 cents, right? So very, very similar, not too different though than the USD chart. We'll get rid of this SFP real quick. This was where you wanted to be looking for longs. Right here is you've got the 6M1 and the Q2 for 2023. So high time frame average is a price, and it was a local gold pocket, if I recall. So you had this going on, and let's yeah. So we'll just scooch this on over. I know it's kind of jumbled because we're on the weekly. We can go to the daily, so make it a little easier to see. Right. So what you'll notice here is you came down into, so you've got your low to your high, your gold pocket, and you've got two really good high time frame averages. Boom, boom, boom. Gave you lots of support. And what we said was realistically, you still got to recover 39 cents. And if that happens, we should look for a new high. However, we can't really do that until you make a new high. But the idea of a trade right here was acceptable as you were at really good support. And when we were calling it out, we were sitting right here. So I was saying basically you'd be looking at something like this potentially is where I would be looking to take it. It's about a 3-to-1. You're looking for 10%. Obviously, we did not hit that target. If you'd have taken profits somewhat early, you could have. There was like a daily right here at 37.5 we discussed, but that's really more of a 1-to-1. And if you're looking to swing trade this, you were looking for here. So the idea was you still had to have a stop loss though, because if you lost this region of the chart, We were basically looking past the quarter one down to the 2023 open. And we've certainly done that. So once you gave up the 35.99 and 35.4 level, you had to be looking at this and saying, man, this is going to all the way back down to 24.58 most likely, unless you swing fail this low, which you obviously did none of that. You can see this is a daily chart, so this isn't even that high time frame, and you basically just nuked right through it. So you had this local low that was kind of the wild card. However, straight through it and down it went. I don't really know that this is a harmonic. It's got like a shark vibe to it, but I don't think it's going to be valid. And we already fucked up our shark here. It's pretty close. This is actually pretty close. Normally, you'd want to see this being a 1618, but you need at least an 886 down to a 1.13. So this is actually close enough to where, you know, I would mark this off and just say what we already know, guys. This B leg up to probably this quarterly pivot right here, going to be pretty key resistance. You get above this, we can start talking about challenging 35 cents and 35.99 and anything above that. And I become somewhat bullish on the chart for at least a new high inside of this local trend. And how about that? There is your gold pocket. And yeah, this would be the region on the chart. So you've got two boxes we're about to put up here. So, you know, these are the only two boxes I'm going to pay attention to be quite upfront with you guys. There we go. Something like this. Box one, box two, anything above box two, and barring an SFP of this local high at 39 cents, I would be looking up towards to take C out and go towards the high at 47.7 cents. That's an untapped quarter four pivot. You did reject off of an NPOC, a yearly NPOC at a gold pocket up here at the top of this move, by the way. But if we were playing this like a harmonic, you would actually be targeting right around 50 cents. So yeah, this would actually stand to make sense that, you know, if I was making boxes to make boxes, this is how I would do it, right? I would be looking like this. And then anything above 1.133, you're looking for the 1618, which puts us where? All the way back at all these key averages. And so now we have all our boxes where we need them. And we can trade all the best and important levels now, just like we talk about on Twitter, right? We've got everything we need. Let's get rid of this. And there you go. These are the levels. If lost, I'm looking for probably sub 20 cents, but realistically targeting probably the mid-teens on this one. And the zone I have for a buy zone is obviously very large. It's like 8.2 to 18.2 cents. And on the USDT pairing, it actually creeps up to 19.64. So really large accumulation zone. However, it's just the area that makes the most sense until I get an invalidation on my my analysis. That's what I'm sticking with. But these boxes right here are going to provide trades, right? So we have just an overall structural low right here. You can see if we extend it over how well respected this zone is going to be, especially off this B leg pivot potential. Get above this, we challenge the gold pocket into the most recent semi-annual and quarterly averages. Above that, you know, I do kind of just start targeting the high, local high here to be taken into the quarter four 22 pivot that was not tapped, right? And also the 1.133 expansion, giving us a little bit of a harmonic feel to it, right? We're playing devil's advocate a little bit here, where we're using multiple kinds of analysis to determine zones that we'd be interested in. This is 47.7 up to 50.63. So not a huge zone, but big enough for you to at least find an acceptable trade potentially. And if it really got out of hand and this was a local bottom and Bitcoin started ripping up and altcoins went with it, and this was all bear trap, 72 cents. That's a major, major zone. We talked about that actually just a second ago on the USD chart. We'll go back to it because it's easier to see. And when we look at 72 cents on the USD chart, here you go, right? You can see why this was such an important region. So that's why all the regions are important. That trade idea all the way up to here only gets underway if 35 cents is recovered, essentially. If it's not recovered and lived above, I'm still looking for lower prices on Cardano. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. What else did we say we were going to look at today? We said we look at SPX, DXY, and Tesla. These are more of I'm here to collect some clout. This is something I posted in September. It was looking for this box. We're in it. So still looking to see us take the quarter three high. We made a high of 43.2262, And the price of the Q3 high is actually 43.2528, so $3 away. So I expect to see this hit. And then I'm looking to see even if it continues up as high as 44.12 for a rejection. And I'm playing the idea that this is, one, this was the major target for us all along. But two, then I'd be looking for something like this. And if we lose that Q3 high, I'm going to start looking down, right? That's really it. Back into this like Q1 low and this 6M2 area right around 41.14 to 40,080. But we can't get ahead of ourselves. If it blows through this, well, then you've got quite a move on your hands. I just don't think that's most likely. I don't think that's most probable. This is if I was in risk on positions from September and I hadn't already locked profits in one at the first initial B leg zone we talked about, the B and C exit and B leg, excuse me, in that Q1 low, I would be locking in profits here as well. I think that's just a good place to make sure you're paying yourself. But if this rolls over and Bitcoin's rolling over with it, it's always good to see the market moving in conjunction. Tesla has hit the B leg pivot. I believe we were looking at this one in log. So Tesla in log has been pretty clean. We were looking for, again, another harmonic called out well in advance, like last year, looking for this low before it even took place, basically in November. Had a nice box for it. If we go to the fund folder and we had the PCZ, look how well that filled out. This is where you would have been filling your bids on Tesla. And then you would have been looking for a nice reclaim here that once you got it, it's now support. We're targeting the X pivot at 179, then the B pivot at 233. That's also going to be your anchored VWAP, so the average price of this entire structure. And you can see where we're at. And this also lines up nicely with what? The gold pocket. We are in log scale for this, just so you guys know. And you're finding resistance at the edge of the gold pocket. So not surprising there. This is an area for risk. If you're looking to get into Tesla, I personally wouldn't be buying here. I would be looking at this as a take profit area. As a pullback could definitely happen. You've already gapped up. You maybe fill that and see where we go. But if you lose 233, you could be looking all the way back down to like 180 potentially, so pretty interesting there. But anything above this, and I would just target this local high right around 314 and start looking for 360. I mean, that would be getting pretty extended. That'd be quite the move, and anything can happen. But that's how I'd be looking at Tesla. It's tough because you had all these opportunities to get in on something like this, and now people are like, what do I do with Tesla? I missed the whole move. You just have to be patient and wait for the next opportunity that's going to be really good, instead of just rushing a position and looking to get involved just to be involved. That's not going to bode well for anyone. And DXY is actually over here. So it's the same with Bitcoin. If you miss the whole move down, you have to be patient and wait for some of those targets to get hit. So with DXY, we've come up to one of our targets here at 104,637 above the blue box. We've certainly come back down to it and then given it back up. However, if you guys recall, my line in the sand is going to be losing that April high that we flipped into support here. So as long as this April high is, good, I personally would still be looking to maybe facilitate some of these higher targets. Now, the moment you give up 103.058 on DXY, I do kind of shift a little bit more bearish. 102.21 is certainly coming at that time, and then probably lower over time. But until then, this is still a bullish chart. This is just another higher low in the move up, right? And you could look at this certainly as saying 105.788 being that key 6-month level. So it's tough to be too bearish on this one. Now, one thing to note is you've not closed a 6-month candle above 105.788, nor have you really actually confirmed the 2016 and 17 highs. Those are right here for anyone that's wondering where this blue box kind of comes from. We could probably shore this blue box up just a little bit here. Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll do it together. There you go. So blue box of peace and prosperity or death and despair. If you're a risk on asset, you get back above this. I don't see any reason why, you won't try to re-challenge into this region of the chart. And as I've said, you could even potentially climb as high as 106 and 107. It just, we can't predict the future here. We can only go off of the information we've got. And as of right now, this is a pretty range bound neutral chart. It's been in a really heavy downtrend off the high. And now you're looking to see if this is going to make a lower high, if it's going to get out of this structure right here. And if it gets out of the structure right here, I think that you could have a substantial move up into a lower high potentially. So, trade these levels for what they are. If you lose the April high, that's your first sign of weakness, that maybe you're coming back down to these lows. And then you have a beautiful lower high, bottom, bottom. What does that look like to all of you? It looks like a descending triangle, right? And I know we don't trade patterns, but it seems like Forex really likes patterns sometimes. Yeah, simple. We did just kind of roll through that. I see Max has already put something in the chat. We do have a free 1-week trial to our group. A lot of people are always like, hey, I want to see what, the content looks like. What's the education and stuff like? So we've kind of all talked about it, and we said we should just, we'll give them a free 1-week trial, which gets you not only in the Discord, but the most valuable part is on the website, leadingcrypto.io. That's where you can find all the educational material. That's why we do this, is we want to give you guys a leg up and say, okay, if you're looking to learn this stuff, you can learn it much quicker this way. You certainly can try to learn it on your own as well. But if you want to give it a go, the link is in the chat here. Or you can go to leadingcrypto.io and you can just click the promotional link on the website. And it'll give you that 1-week trial to the group. It gets you everything, both in the group and into the academy. So you could potentially watch the entire academy in a week. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of free time. And a lot of those videos are, over open interest, things like that. You're going to want to rewatch them and take notes. Like it's not something you learn overnight, unfortunately, but there's a ton of information in there. So we've been going almost an hour. Max, anything to add before I jump off this thing? Because I don't see a whole lot of activity in the chat.
Just that we're going to have a really big masterclass on open interest coming out on Wednesday/Thursday. But we've got a busy week this week, so it's going to be a really good fun trading in the group.
Beautiful. All right. Well, guys, if you haven't done it already, smash the like, subscribe, all that jazz. We will catch you guys in the next live. I'm not sure when that'll be. Could be tomorrow, could be Friday, who knows. But every Monday we are at least consistent. And if you guys are following me on Twitter, you guys know I've been kind of like shitting on KDA a little bit. Definitely check out the original video from November. I gave you guys the target. We're now coming into that 6 months later, and I've maintained that position. We would come down to those levels. So I'll probably be putting out an update on that chart just because, clout does pay the bills. So might as well collect a little bit of that and make some jokes along the way, because I know you guys love my jokes about hot dogs. All right, everybody have a good day. Good start to the week.